Have you ever been embarrassed about something and you were afraid that others might notice? One time, when I was in a 7th grade math class, we were working on a group project, and a friend of mine named Lauren poked me really hard in the arm with her fingernail. And I just grabbed my arm and I was like, wow, what on earth was that for? She looked at me quizzically and said, "Oh, I didn't think you'd be able to feel it underneath all of your fat." I was horrified. I sat there in disbelief and just horror because I couldn't imagine, one, saying something like that to other people, but two, the whole class heard. But, as a fat person, there's literally nothing that I can do to hide my embarrassment, quote unquote, my fat. Whereas you can put concealer over a zit if you have a zit on your face, or you could change the shirt you spilled ketchup on. There's just no feasible way for me to not be the size and the shape that I already am. Because I've lived my entire life overweight, I've been teased and bullied and relentlessly advised of how I should and could be if I just bothered to change myself with a new fad diet, with cutting something out of a diet. Madeline Fernstrom, the NBC News health and diet editor, commented, "It's almost like obesity is the last of the acceptable groups to be teased. Being biased about the overweight or the obese is still very socially acceptable." After this presentation, I hope you'll agree with me that fat shaming is cruel and baseless, not to mention unjustified. Tonight we'll discuss what exactly fat shaming is, what its potential effects are, and about what actions we as a society can take to move past this. First, let's talk exactly about what fat shaming is. Urban Dictionary defines fat shaming as a term made by obese people to avoid the responsibility to actually take proper care of their bodies and instead victimize themselves by pretending they're discriminated against like an ethnic group. While I understand that Urban Dictionary is hardly a source to rely on for accurate, consistent information, in this case, I feel it's a pretty telling view of what the general public really thinks. Fat shaming has recently come to a lot of internet media attention through a men's rights website called Return of Kings, which started a whole week in October dedicated only to fat shaming women. They proudly displayed an article on their website called 5 Reasons Fat Girls Don't Deserve Love and made #FatShamingWeek a trend on Twitter. Not that I believe this is what Return of Kings' opinion was, but I do understand that some fat shaming is done with the fat person's perceived best interest at heart. But I can promise you that anyone you talk to about your fantastic new diet program, they already know that they have a problem with their weight. They know every day, every time they see a picture or a mirror, they know that they're fat. They probably also know it's a health risk, but realistically, the only person who's qualified to discuss a person's health with them is their doctor. Now let's talk about the potential effects of fat shaming. One you're probably not expecting is weight gain. A Public Library of Science study asserts that overweight people who experienced weight-based discrimination are 2.5 times more likely to be obese by a follow-up visit 4 years later. The same study found that obese persons who experienced weight-based discrimination were 3 times as likely to still be obese at a follow-up visit 4 years later. But there's more than just the physical issues. There are also psychological issues that can be caused by fat shaming. Many people who suffer from bulimia or anorexia nervosa have fallen prey to this ridiculous weight bullying. Binge eaters generally feel depressed and out of control when they binge, and I'm pretty sure that fat shaming them is not helping to assuage their depression. A more serious psychological side effect are suicides. A 13-year-old girl from Ireland named Erin Gallagher killed herself because of weight-related bullying that she endured. A 12-year-old girl named Rebecca Ann Sedgwick jumped off of the roof of a cement plant because her peers made her believe that she didn't deserve to live just based on her gene size. So, what are we as a community supposed to do? How are we supposed to change? Well, I'd like to introduce you to the online community called Healthy at Every Size, whose beliefs are based on choosing healthy habits for the sake of health rather than for weight control or weight loss. I'd like to tell you there are 3 tenets. The first is accepting and respecting the natural diversity of body shapes and sizes. The second is eating in a flexible manner that values pleasure and honors internal cues of hunger, satiety, and appetite. The third is finding joy in moving one's body and becoming physically more vital. Regardless of your body shape or size or fitness level, these tenets could very easily be helpful to anyone, skinny, fat, young, or old. Healthy at any size also reminds us that skinny does not equate healthy, nor does fat equate unhealthy necessarily. Psychology Today reported that research suggesting that prejudice is a flexible trait abounds, and simply being aware that it's not fixed can significantly reduce discriminatory behavior. Accepting that we all hold negative associates and becoming aware of the ones we automatically make are also critical steps in the process of counteracting our biases. So, too, is encouraging people to talk about their negative perceptions. So, basically, what Psychology Today is saying is that talking about these biases we have that are pretty unreasonable is kind of the first step to getting over them. This quote was actually written in an article called "Do I Make You Uncomfortable?" that was written by and about an obese lady. Now that you understand the basics of fat shaming, the effects of fat shaming, and the alternatives I've presented, like healthy at any size, I know that you'll agree with me that fat shaming has to end. There are not any positive effects to fat shaming, only negative feelings and horrible effects. Dr. Preeti Matkins of the Carolinas healthcare system, who works with young people dealing with all kinds of issues, including obesity, says that we need to call it what it really is. I don't even want to call it fat shaming, she said. It's bullying. Dr. Matkins also says it's not just an effective way to motivate anyone overweight. 1, shame doesn't work, she pointed out. 2, if it was as easy as eat less and move more for everyone, I think a lot of people would be at a healthier place. Thank you.